And we're back for round two of the Prophet Moffat Show. I got a fantastic guest here, my man Smo. How you doing?
Better than I deserve. I always hate when people say that, but seems accurate.
Yeah, man. I feel like a lot of people who've had crazy lives like we have, man. It's like there comes a moment in life where you get a fork in the road and you get to choose a path, and you could keep going down the same kind of path, or you might divert, man, and realize that there's a ton of blessings out there in the world. And I think that you're the perfect kind of person who took that right turn, as people are about to find out here in this interview that I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah, man. I definitely feel like if I didn't get off the path I was on, it would have been the end of my journey sooner than later.
Yeah, so we just got disconnected, so I kind of want to revisit and bring people up to speed about who you are and the big transformation that you had. And most people might recognize you as formerly Big Smo, but you're not so big anymore. And I mean, you're big, in who you are and the things that you do, but you were physically big.
Yeah, about 400 pounds big, which for me was that's all I needed to experience. I couldn't imagine being bigger than what I was because it had already gotten to the point where it was so uncomfortable and then my health was so bad, and it's unreal that I'm even here to be a different version of myself telling this story. Very lucky and fortunate, but um, yeah, going from a terrible lifestyle of alcohol and uh, food addiction and a lot of drug addiction, a lot of bad habits.
Yeah.
Just a lot of bad habits. Because when I quit drinking, I realized that once I drank, I opened the door for all things. Like I could say, yeah, no, I'm gonna eat healthy today. I'm gonna exercise. I'm gonna stay on my path. You know what I'm saying, and do all the things I'm supposed to do. Let me have a Bloody Mary. All that's out the door, and I'm like, shit. Who's ordering pizza?
Yeah.
Like, let's listen to some stuff we shouldn't listen to. Let's watch some things we shouldn't watch. Let's do some things we shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, I found out that alcohol was really my devil's horn. And when I got rid of that, man, I didn't realize that I had such a problem with it because personally, John Smith wasn't an alcoholic, didn't even really enjoy drinking the way that Big Smo did.
Oh, so you were almost like living a character?
Oh, for the alcohol version, absolutely, because John Smith was more of a cannabis guy. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
because of where I live and the laws and what everybody else was open to do, and I enjoyed to drink, from time to time. I wasn't like a 12 pack a day drinker, or on my, personally, nor was I like take for instance a 90-minute show in my prime time. I would drink a half gallon of Jim Beam
What?
in that 90-minute performance.
No way.
And in a personal setting of just me as John Smith, a half gallon would have lasted, I don't know, a month and a half,
Yeah,
2 months,
yeah.
like, but when you are in charge of pouring gas on the fire, sometimes you spill that gas into your mouth and you have some effects from it. So for me, it was like a lot of alcohol around my branding, and then the food also that was around my branding. I had my own barbecue sauce. For a while, I traveled with my own pit master that followed me. And all bar food. You think about this my job site where it used to be like pouring concrete. Now take that, change it completely. Now put me in a bar. You know, all the
Yeah.
alcohol, and when you're the star, of the night, you get everything.
Yeah, man,
So
deep fried jalapeno poppers and
yeah,
barbecue. Yeah, yeah, just
beer, liquor, whiskey, it doesn't matter. You get all the drinks, you get all the food, and it's all terrible for you. And then, you're up till 3 o'clock in the morning, you crash. You don't go to bed, you crash. You get no sleep, no real sleep. You're back up the next day trying to gear up because you got to do it again in a different place with a whole different bunch of people that didn't get to experience you do all this the night before and the night before and the night before. So you got to go just as hard for them, because you are the Ronald McDonald of the Big SMO brand at that point. Like
yeah,
you are in, and it's not like I'm different from who Big SMO the artist is. There were just some things that whenever I had to step out of my personal self and be the artist version of me, that I had to raise the level of, for the sake of pleasing the fans, uh, keeping myself happy, maintaining a level of like where I'm just fucked up enough to where I'm okay with all the bullshit. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Because it's all a bunch of bullshit.
Totally. So let's catch people up a little bit for who are just hopping on too about what this Big Smo brand is and who you are, because you're a very unique individual in that you're one of the pioneer OGs of the country rap genre, which is something was unfamiliar with, and I thought I was pretty well versed in hip hop, being a '90s MC. But the only thing I knew of country rap was Bubba Sparks back in, I don't know, the early 2000s. I know you got started right before the turn of the century, and then you had a big like opportunity with your reality show Big Smo on A&E. Tell us a little bit how you started, and then how that whole TV show happened, and then I imagine that probably perpetuated that character and that lifestyle even further.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the journey from the beginning to the middle part, right before the explosion, it was everything that it should have been. It was self-taught this, self-taught that. A lot of putting in the groundwork of you know putting on shows, performing shows, promoting shows, building relationships with other artists. Just this whole plethora of knowledge that you couldn't even get from a university if you went to. But like that led up to a point to where, and we had built a brand grassroots. We built it ourselves with like no budget, so we had some legs to stand on. And I would say it was around the time that I started filming my own music videos is whenever I started to expand outside of my local reach. So
Mhm.
right around the time of YouTube, when YouTube came out, and I was already filming videos and putting them on DVD and selling them at shows, so people were already getting my DVDs. But
Yeah,
to be able to put something on the internet video wise and then share it with everybody was, I mean, that was groundbreaking. So the music video for Kicking It in Tennessee, I'd say, opened up a big door for me. That was the first thing, that video being seen by record execs at Warner Brothers in Nashville, them reaching out, us forming a deal, management from LA finding interest in me, coming down, me signing a deal with them, and then us as a team of management, artist, and label going after the television show. And we had already filmed our own TV show and put it out on YouTube. We were putting everything on YouTube as if YouTube was our channel 5.
nice.
You
Yeah,
know, we were like, well, we don't have to get on TV. We already have a network. All we have to do is upload and then communicate to our audience the same way that they do in advertisements about shows coming on. It's like, hey, every Wednesday at 8 p.m., tune in for the next, country living with Big Smo and the whole crew. So we did like 18 episodes of that. And then I I took all of those and cut it down to a trailer, like a movie trailer. And then me and my manager, we took it out to LA and shopped it. And it was like instantly, VH1 grabbed it first and they did a horrible job. And then CMT kind of picked up VH1's work and tried to elaborate on it. And they couldn't do it. And then I told my manager, I said, look, the problem here is that I need to be a writer on my own show.
Yeah.
Nobody knows me like me. So
Yeah, you imagine LA guys trying to tell you how country
that's what they
boys
were
are.
doing. Yeah. So imagine that. Imagine VH1 of all places. And then I thought maybe CMT could have been more creative. But then after seeing that, I was like, and this has been like this across the board. I'm like, I can do this better myself.
Dude, Bob at the tire truck stop, the tire shop could have done a better
Yeah.
job than them. Yeah.
So I became the writer on my show. A&E, they signed up for it. We knocked it out the park. We did a second season. It did really well. They wanted to do a third. I was done because the way that I looked at the TV show and the way I look at TV shows is like it can't go on forever. And once it goes on past a certain point, it starts to get corny.
Yeah.
And when you get corny, you risk losing people. And I had this thought. I was like, I would rather leave people wanting more.
I definitely wanted more, man.
Yeah.
I love the show, man, because the show was brilliant, I thought. What I really liked about it too is, I mean, it really showcased you as a family man, the relationship that you had with your kids, with your mom, and really showcased, how hard of a worker you were. In fact, your song "Working," I was just looking at it, has like 35 million views on YouTube. That song is a banger, and I'm curious, like, you must have always been entrepreneurial. You strike me as the kind of guy who would have had a lemonade stand, or you must have been hustling at a young age.
Always from a very young age. Like I said, like the first lyrics were it was all hustle music, and imagine doing that. And you sing where I live.
Yeah.
So imagine doing, gangster shit on a farm. And that's what the life was. And it was, we were doing real.
What was the first thing you did to make a buck? Like legally, first
Oh,
thing you did.
legally. I was actually, I worked in the food industry. So full circle, I was an assistant chef at our country club here in my hometown.
Cool.
Yeah. And the guy that taught me how to cook, he still is the head chef there. And his sister actually dines with us at our food trailer. So
Cool. I want to get to the food trailer here in a bit because that's actually the reason I brought you on. But so, the success of the TV show, the success of the music taking off,
yeah,
you know,
imagine that rocket, and it's just going, and then it like they say, hey, we're going to put you on your biggest tour through the South, over to the West Coast, up through Canada, back around. And I'm like, let's go. And I'm on that. And then all of a sudden I'm on that bus and I hit like, what I hit, it was like Arizona. And before I left, I had this weird feeling in my chest. I thought it was anxiety because of how much money I was about to spend. I was walking onto like a $2 million bus. And I was just thinking, holy shit, who's paying for this? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I am. Like, so I was like freaking out. And I was like, oh, you're nervous, you're anxious, But by the time I got to like Arizona, I was like, yeah, I don't think this is nerves. I think something might actually be wrong in this region of my body because it feels like a gorilla is like standing here. And then, so I went to several different hospitals on that tour. And then when I wound up in Canada, also at another hospital, and they just couldn't figure out what was wrong. My next show was in Minnesota, and I wound up getting an appointment at the Mayo Clinic for a cardiology appointment. And so I did the show and then went to the Mayo Clinic, and they ran like a test on me, like one test. And they said, we'll be in touch. And I got maybe 20 miles down the road. They called me. They said, hey, are you still here? And I was like, I'm down the road. I was on the tour bus, like tour bus pulled up to the Mayo Clinic. I get out, I go do my test. I come back, get on the bus. I'm heading back to the hotel to be with the band. They're like, hey, we need you to turn around, come back. We found something in the test. I go back, they're like, hey, you got something seriously wrong. So they do another like angiogram where they go in with a
Yep.
scope. I come out of that. They're like, yeah, it's way too bad for a stent, and they're like, well, you're gonna have to have open heart surgery. And I was like, I've got a show like in 2 days. They're like, oh no, no, you have
Yeah.
you have no show, my
Jeez.
friend. You are not leaving this hospital because you have to have open heart surgery. And I was like, well, shit.
Yeah,
So
especially when you got everybody on the bus depending on you. I
we're
mean,
on we've already run half the tour. Everything is counting on this tour. We got all the chips are on the table, man. And like, I'm out there dying, you know.
jeez.
I remember like, I feel like I died in San Diego, which oddly enough is where I was born. So that'd have been a beautiful thing to go out there. But I remember like in a hotel lobby, like sitting down, I was like eating baby aspirin, like Skittles, just trying to do anything to stay alive. I just sat down in the lobby, like on some furniture and like blacked out. And then my manager and my bus driver was waking me up. You okay? I'm like, no, I'm not. I think I
Were
died.
were you at your heaviest weight at that moment?
I had been heavier before, and I was trying on this tour
Yeah.
while I had people that could hold me accountable daily. I was trying to lose some weight because I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And I wasn't happy. You know what I'm saying? I didn't feel good. I was taking a lot of medicine already, for cholesterol and blood pressure and acid reflux and, pain, hip pain, knee pain, just from being, a big toting all that weight around.
Yeah.
And so, I just was really tired of being that version of myself. And so I started to do something, but, God probably knew that it wasn't enough and he had to really throw a wrench in my gears and make me take a look at my options. Cause, that open heart surgery is what set the course for where I'm at now. And I probably wouldn't be, I know I wouldn't be where I am now
Yeah.
even after the open heart surgery, had it not been for several years later, after my surgery, me meeting my wife that I'm married to now, and then us going through sobriety because I couldn't, I had to stone cold a lot of stuff: alcohol, red meat, pork, fried food, soda pop, uh, a lot of junk, that I just
Yeah, which is basically everything that was totally your everyday normal.
everyday norm. And the
Yeah.
surgeon, he was like, bro, I'll be honest with you. He said, if you don't change the way you live, you'll be back in here 4 to 6 years for another one of these. He said, but if you do what I say, you could live a really long time from this. He's like, I'm going to hook you up. He's like, I do like 260 of these operations a year. You know what I'm saying? He's like, this is a walk in the park for me. Uh, and they didn't take veins from my arms or my legs. He used like the spare uh, veins that hang behind your breastplate. He's like, they're like brand new. They're like spare parts. He's like, I'm gonna snag them and fix everything. And when I
Wow.
came out of that surgery, I didn't realize how bad I felt. Even like in the ICU when I'm still like bad off, I could tell. I was like, oh shit, this dude fixed me.
Wow.
So I instantly leaned into I'm gonna do what he said, and I stuck with it. I was sober for the first time in my whole life since I was like 12. I had never knew what being sober was like. Um, so that was new. And then, just having to relearn how to breathe, relearn how to, getting back in the vocal booth, like kicking the career back off after like 2 months of being in a rehabilitated state of like healing and trying to learn how to breathe again and like having to do exercises all at the hospital. Like you had to go through like this rehab program. And they were so cool, man. They let me bring in the equipment and set it up in the
Oh, wow.
hospital. They
Oh.
hooked the monitors up to me and they were like, "We just want to make sure you're clear to go back on tour." And they let me do a live performance just by myself with management, doctor, whatever shit there, but with the monitors so they could see that I was good. And they were like, "You're good." So 2 months after that, I was back on stage, and you know, it was hard to get back to it. My band, kind of wasn't the same because having to quit for 2 months, they kind of went and did their own thing.
Yeah.
Can't blame them.
No.
I can't blame them at all. But it's hard to wrangle that back together. And then, I wound up having to go out and do a lot of track shows, which wasn't fun compared to doing a 7-piece live band show.
When you say track show, like just playing off a DAT machine or
Yeah,
something, or
just off a thumb drive.
yeah.
So then, which it took some growing and getting back to it, and then I wound up back with a drummer and a guitar player, and which is all I needed. And I found my happiness. Got rid of my management, dropped the label, farewell to A&E. I was like, I gotta do this different. I gotta do this on my own. I had already learned how to manage myself by watching my manager and what he did for me. And I knew I wasn't going to steal from me. So I was already going to be better off because he
Yeah.
was, he was a thief. And then the record label, I learned watching them, like, you're nothing but a bank loan.
Yeah,
Uh,
people don't realize. I mean, nowadays, most musicians realize the last thing you want is a record deal.
yeah, but back whenever I
Then,
got my record deal, it was like what everybody wanted. In 2011,
but you didn't realize the bills that you were stacking up and that you were
yeah,
yeah, no one ever knows
no,
that
no,
stuff,
no, you
man.
don't understand the actual word recoup
Yeah.
until you have to recoup, like 100K. And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, no, no. I knew what it meant, but I never knew what it felt like, So like, so after all the record label, of course, like the TV show and management and all that stuff, I put things back into my hands. And of course, like I said, when I met my wife, she became a really uh, positive influence in my life and my career. And once we got rid of management, she helped me start managing. And then I asked her to leave her career as a high school Spanish teacher and just come work for me. And then she wound up coming on tour with me, which was amazing because we hated being apart because teaching high school and being a rapper, those are two completely separate schedules. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like when she's off on the weekend, I'm working on tour. When I'm home during the week, she's at school working.
Yeah.
So we got it to where, she left her career, which it was a lot to ask of someone, but it was also perfect timing because it was 2019 when she left, which is right before COVID.
You know,
So
there's a great video that you did recently, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 months ago, where you did a duet with her, and it's not rap music. It's a love song, and it's a great love song. And if anybody wants to check that out,
yeah, something
it
about love.
yeah, it's on you. I think I might even have shed a tear with that, man. It was good, man.
Great record. She also then became an artist after touring with me and me asking her to come up on stage. She's always been a songwriter and a singer, but never pursued it as a career because she had a lot of other careers. She's a very smart girl, very educated, way
Well,
smarter than me.
she was smart in that she seemed to, kind of guide you guys down this healthy path that you're on now, which then resulted in to your Smolicious food truck.
Yeah.
So,
So right there in 2020, when we were about to do the biggest tour of my independent career. Me and her, we're doing our own booking and everything. And I was on a duck hunt in January. I take a group of wounded warriors duck hunting, and I come home from this duck hunt. She's like, "Hey, I'm not eating meat anymore," and I was like, "What?" But I got all these ducks, and I got 2.5 deer in the freezer, and I got like my freezer's full of meat. What are you talking about? This is insane. She's like, "Yeah, I watched this documentary. I just can't do it. I can't eat meat anymore." I was like, "Okay, well that's cool." Uh,
Which documentary? Like Knives Over Forks or
Game
something?
Changers.
Game change. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So she was like, "You should watch it." I was like, "Well, if you watched it and it made you quit eating meat, I have to watch it because my wife loved eating meat. She is just as much as a meat addict as I was."
Hmm.
And I watched it, and I haven't eaten meat since.
Wow.
Yeah, man, I haven't had meat, I haven't had eggs, and I'm like, I was eating 90 eggs a month, easy, just for breakfast.
Yeah.
3 egg omelet every day, handful of turkey sausage, Tillamook cheese, put it on a big uh, flat, hit it with mayonnaise and sriracha. That's just kicking the day off.
Yeah.
And I thought I was doing. Well, let's be honest. You're not doing good. That's probably like a 900-calorie breakfast. Um, but that's what I was eating, and it wasn't fried, and it didn't have red meat. It hit all the parameters that the doctor had let me live under, but it wasn't healthy. And after watching that documentary, I realized what the problem was, and it was what I was eating is what was holding me back. Now I had already lost 100 pounds from the heart surgery to 2020. That 5 year period, I lost like 100 to 120 pounds, and but I was stuck, and
Yeah.
I could get no further. I tried everything to lose more and couldn't, and I was not happy at 300 to 80. I just wasn't. It wasn't where I really wanted to be. And after we went uh, plant based, um, we actually gained weight. And I was like, whoa, I thought this was going to be helpful. And then I realized after about a year of eating that and then gaining some weight, I was like, my wife, she's like, whoa, this is vegan junk food we're eating.
Yeah. You can't be eating those Beyond
Yeah.
burgers and yeah.
And maybe it served its purpose to wean us off of the real deal and prepare us for what was to come. But when I tell people now, knowing what I know, I'd skip the vegan fat boy food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And go straight to whole food plant based.
Yeah.
So after doing the vegan uh, marketed food that's still super ultra processed and full of oil and full of gums and gluten and all that, she she said, "Hey, look, let's cut out gluten." And we had already cut out caffeine, which was a hard one because we were very reliable on coffee and like energy drinks. Um, but once we cut the caffeine out, and then she was like, "Hey, let's cut out gluten and oil." Now that's when you really find out what everyone is suffering from.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm glad you brought it up because it's in my notes. Oil, I might not. I spent years vegan myself and I felt fantastic. And, I know a lot of the pros and cons of that. But I would say even 85, 90% of vegans don't realize what they're actually eating. And when you start cutting out the oils, man, I mean, like goodbye every restaurant in town.
Yeah,
Everyone,
everything,
everyone,
and everything in a package.
everything.
So I just went to Sprouts earlier today, and I look for, I know that I can go and get the things that I need from there because they're conscious about having products that don't have these things in it. But like a lot of people that don't know what to shop for, they're just grabbing whatever. That's 99% of society is just trusting the food industry to service them best because
Yeah.
they think that it's being overseen by people who give a shit.
Totally.
But they don't. It's quite the opposite. They give less of a shit because the same people that control the food control the drugs. So they want to keep you just sick enough so they can walk you over and prescribe you medication. Why do you think they started putting pharmacies inside the grocery store?
Yeah,
They
man.
walk you right down the cheese aisle, right into the pharmacy line. So they're going to make sure that while you're picking up your extra sharp cheddar shreds and ultra processed meats, that you can come through there and get your Pepsids and your Tums and your Rolaids and your Prevacits and your Nexiums, because everybody suffers from acid reflux. If
Dude,
you
it's
eat that food, you suffer from acid reflux, or you're like an anomaly. You know,
yeah, it's wild too, because even when any of the health food companies that, do try to make a difference, as soon as they get successful, Nestle or Kraft just buys them all up.
yeah, they buy them out.
And they overbuy at a price where the people basically can't say no to. And
Yeah,
so
and then they change it.
they
You
change
know,
that, then they'll change the names of the
yeah,
chemicals, and
the
they do
chemical. Yo,
everything.
this is what I learned. I was reading a book called Hooked, and I had no idea that the cigarette companies were the ones who started the food companies. So like Philip Morris owns Nabisco. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? These cigarette companies, whenever they used to advertise cigarettes like only the best doctors smoke Camel, and they're like smoking a cigarette while they're checking your, you know, your heart rate and everything.
it's
And then
wild.
when that got turned into a lawsuit and they lost because and then they had to say cigarettes cause cancer. It changed like that. Those cigarette companies took those same blueprint uh, labs and everything, scientists, lawyers, and all that. They started food companies, and then they started controlling the food industry, same way they did with the cigarettes.
It's wild. A lot of people don't know. I think maybe late 40s, early 50s, Edward Bernays, who is an advertising genius, evil genius. Women didn't smoke that much in the 40s and 50s. And so they created this campaign where they called them freedom sticks. And it was a way for women to say to men, like, screw you, I'm my own woman
Mhm.
and I can smoke too and look cool.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, women started smoking because
Oh,
of that campaign. And
yeah.
it's so wild to see the devious stuff that companies will do to hook people.
Well,
And
and
and,
that's
and
the thing, hook people,
yeah, hook.
because with the cigarette companies, they knew how to create an addiction, and they used that same blueprint in the food, and then that was their goal. Well, if we can't get them with this, everybody's got to eat. Let's make addictive food, and we'll get them like that. And then that's what has happened, because what we're dealing with the food industry, it's no different than the heroin, the meth, the fentanyl. It's addiction,
Totally.
and
It's
everybody is participating. That's why it's not talked about a lot, because no one wants to judge and be judged, because everybody's got their hand in the cookie jar. Nobody's not eating oil. Like me and my wife are the strangest people that we know, because simply because we don't eat oil.
Totally. I would say that the food is significantly worse than the fentanyl, heroin, and cocaine all together, but
Oh,
it's so subtle. I mean, if you took all the overdose deaths of all the drugs, but then looked at all the heart disease and heart attacks that came from diabetes that came from the food,
yeah,
it would be not even close.
yeah,
So, what you have done, though, too, which, me being a business guy, um, you started a plant-based food truck in your hometown where nobody is looking for that kind of food. They're looking for the barbecue rib joint or whatnot. So right away, I'm just thinking that this is a very tough business. What compelled you to continue through that, knowing that most of the people think you're crazy?
Well, I feel like I owed it to my hometown to service them first. These are the people that I see every day when I go to Walmart and I see what's in their shopping carts and I see them, walking in and out of these stores and I pay attention now. And everybody in my town knows me. In
Yeah.
my hometown, I'm a hometown he I'm not gonna say hero, but I'm just well known in my hometown. So people have seen they all saw the 400-pound version of me on television.
Yep.
They see me now in real life and they want that. They want it so bad that if I could bag it up into little grams, I would be the richest man on the planet. Everybody, more than being high as a kite, everybody wants to feel good.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to feel good. And a lot of people in my hometown don't feel good. So once I learned how to fix that, I felt like it was my obligation because I wouldn't be who I am without the support of my hometown as far as an artist. To even have the platform to have become who I became without my hometown support, that would have never happened. Shelbyville had my back from day one. And I told my wife, I told my business manager, I said, listen, the first year of our operation, I want to service just my hometown and try to make a difference in the people that are in my community. So what we that's what we did. That's what we're doing.
How's it been going? How's the reception been, and how has it been sustainable?
It's been amazing. I mean, of course, in the first month, 2 months, there's a lot of hype. Everybody wants to come and see, what is it? What is it? And what we try to tell people, like, this isn't where we hurt ourselves. This was our goal. I don't want to continue to make your food for you.
Yeah,
I
super.
want to teach you how to make your own because I'm not going to be here one day.
Yeah.
This food truck's not going to be here one day. But you need to continue to know how to eat. You need to know how to program your children the right way to eat, and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren. And that has to start with someone giving the information to the people. And that's what me and my wife have done is each one of our customers, we're like, hey, we're glad that you love this. Please come back and eat with us. But we noticed that you really enjoy this on our menu. Let us share the recipe with you so you can learn how to make this for yourself at home because the thing that's being lost across the board here with society is no one is having a relationship with their food. Everybody's having a relationship with their phone, a relationship with some, you know, abusive person or, maybe not. But nobody is having a relationship with their food, like an intimate relationship, like going to the store, going into the produce section, looking at these vegetables, saying, you know what, I want to try this, and
Or
bring it
yeah,
home and washing it and cooking it and then eating it and then letting it nourish you. Like there's not a more intimate relationship than the relationship you have with your food.
yeah, knowing that, I mean, it's gonna build your cells, it's gonna provide you energy. I think you could take it a step further than even going to the grocery store and understanding, like getting to know farmers, going to
Yes,
farmers markets and like
growing
getting
your
to
own.
know intimately, yeah, and then growing your own,
Get your own.
especially little simple things too. Like
Green,
you can cut your celery stalk off and just take that bunch and stick it in a pot and regrow it.
regrow it. Yeah,
It's
and then any green is going to be easy to grow. Any leaf green, kale, lettuce, stuff like that. Like it's we become so lazy and dependent on these drive-throughs and these just. industrialized food products, that we've lost the connection. Like, and exactly to your point, like the seed, the dirt, the water, the sun, like, and then what does that do for us on a cellular level? Like
Yeah,
nobody's thinking about what Chick-fil-A is doing to your body on a cellular level, and that's
totally.
unfortunate because nobody even understands the way that the mitochondria and all that works. So
What has the food done for you personally on like a mental level so that you could be has it made you a better businessman?
I'm it feels like I'm on some like brain drug,
Yeah, so like
to
nootropic.
where it's such it's like a veil being lifted off, and it's like being unplugged from the matrix. We've all seen the movie. It's like being unplugged, and then once you're unplugged, you can never see it the same again. Like the lady in the red dress was the filet mignon on the plate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like now when I see it for what it is. I'm like, ooh, that's a very sad animal that got murdered because someone is addicted to the flavor of this saturated fat that they're probably not even going to finish the whole thing, and it'll get tossed out and wasted. And it's just like, whenever you start thinking, and I never knew this was going to happen to me on a psychological level, but after not eating animals for about a year, then it started to like really peel back some of the layers. And I'm like, wow, uh, I can't believe I can't believe I just went out and killed animals because I wanted to have deer chili. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and I was like, I had convinced myself that I needed deer chili, to the point to where I would go out and sit in a freaking tree at 4 a.m. cloaked out in camouflage with a high power rifle with a scope and wait on this animal to come out so I could just murder it and then say,
Yeah.
you know,
In defense of meat eaters, around, and I'm one too, but I try to eat the cleanest meat possible. So there is a huge difference between the hunter who's hunting or fishing and grabbing meat for themselves and their family, and the Chick-fil-A drive-through guy.
but even you've got to think about where you're, and this is not a vegan thing. This is agricultural because it goes for plants as well. You have to be really careful about the plants that you buy. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know who sprayed what on
Totally.
them.
Not only that, I mean, the amount of animals killed just to grow vegetables is
Grow veg-
astronomical.
it's
There's no way to get away killing animals. There's
no
just not.
animals are going to die.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing with and to my point about me going out and killing a deer just for deer chili, I didn't need deer chili.
Yeah.
I didn't need it. Like I already have plenty of shit to eat. This was a sport,
Totally.
for me. So it wasn't like I was out hunting with the necessity because I wasn't only eating deer meat, right? So that's what I mean by that. Not to just say that hunting is not a necessity for survival in some situations. But you think about the animals. What are they eating? They're eating from the fields that have been sprayed with the same shit that's sprayed. You know, so
Yeah,
they're
man.
they're the last time I went deer hunting, a buddy of mine he had killed two or three deer that he couldn't even eat. Because they were bad off. They
Jeez.
had like cystic things inside of them when he went to gut them. They were like walking rotten deer, just sick. So my point to the whole thing, and it's really not a vegan thing. Like for me, it is because, like I said, psychologically, I can't
Yeah.
see myself like killing an animal just to eat it when I have other things that I can eat and get the same nutrition, right?
Yeah, I think that is an evolution, and I used to actually be there myself 20 some years ago, and I'm not quite sure how I fell off that wagon or something, but I believe that's an evolution of like here.
Yeah, it's just different.
It's a very difficult discussion to have with most people because most people aren't ready to have it.
And I think it helps that I used to be those people.
Totally
Like I
helps.
have not always been this person who didn't eat animals. Like for 40 years, or no, for 44 years,
Yeah.
I ate everything gluttonously. And that was my reason for quitting because I was an addict. So I approached this from an addiction point. I've struggled with addiction my whole life. I know addiction when it's present in my life. And I realized that I was dealing with an addiction to these foods. I was super addicted to cheese.
Yeah.
Um, way more.
Isn't it wild if you go to, I don't know if you've ever been to an NA or 12-step meeting or whatnot. It's like on break, what are they doing? They're all sitting around smoking
Smoking
cigarettes,
cigarettes.
drinking coffee, eating donuts.
Yep. It's
And
all it's all the addictions that have been normalized that
totally.
as a society we can be okay with because we all participate.
They're saying, well, at least it's not heroin.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. You
it's
have to
wild.
villainize. Look, I had to look at cheese. I shit you not. I look at cheese like it's methamphetamines.
Dude,
So I don't eat it.
I haven't told you this, but I just rented a house right near Tillamook.
Oh wow. See, that was my go-to, man. Like I would be that'd be hard. That'd be like living next to the dope man. So, you know, these addictions, they presented themselves very clearly. And once I realized that it was addiction I was dealing with, I knew how to address addiction because I've dealt with it several times in the past. So I just applied these things the same way I did in the past. I villainized the things that I couldn't have mentally. What do I steer clear of? And this is what I tell people like, what drug don't you do? And they're like, well, I don't do drugs. I'm like, well, name one. Like, okay, heroin. All right, perfect. When you think about eating cheese, think about the same way as like, that's like heroin. I can't do that. And that's how you have to compartmentalize these things, or at least that's how it worked for me
Yeah.
at first to get myself to not fool with it. Cause I have a point to where I just say no, like heroin, methamphetamines, needled stuff,
Yeah.
anything on a glass pipe, you know what I'm saying? Like any kind of,
All the good stuff.
yeah, a lot of things, alcohol, caffeine, gluten, oil, like it's the same way that I quit those things. I just said these things are no good for me. They're going to lead to my death. Otherwise, I would be doing heroin. Like I've
Yeah.
never done it, but I hear it's like a great
No,
drug.
yeah, you're lucky because I mean, I mean, it's fantastic. It's one of the best things
Yeah.
there is. So,
So, but I've been told so much that it'll kill you and that it's not good for you. Same way we were told a lot of things that we wound up doing.
you
But
know, I find caffeine. So I had an insane caffeine addiction last year, and I've never had a cup of coffee in my entire life. Never had a cup of coffee. Never had a cigarette. I just went straight for the heroin and crack, and all the I laid off the wimpy drugs.
right.
Um, but I came across yerba mate tea.
Mm,
And bro, I was slamming like 3 and 4 tall boys of that stuff, which
caffeine.
is like twice a coffee. So
Coffee. Yeah.
I'm drinking like 12 cups of coffee a day and just getting jacked. And I love it because it's like speed light.
Yeah.
And and I didn't realize how bad it was until I started. I was heavy. I was getting too much sugar, and when I tried to stop, I would get debilitating headaches.
Yeah.
And I went cold turkey, and it took 14 days for the headaches to go away.
Yeah, man.
And bro, it's the worst.
That's withdrawals.
The caffeine addiction was worse than any other drug addiction I've ever had in my entire life,
Yep.
bar none.
Absolutely. I agree. That and sugar.
Oh,
Sugar was hard.
yeah, I had to get rid of. I was getting rid of sugar at the same time
Mhm.
as the caffeine, and it
Yeah.
was just. It was so. I think we're in a really interesting time right now too, because so many people in the United States, we have all ballooned up to the point that it's undeniable that we're unhealthy.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't want to get into politics much, but it's really interesting that there's this whole Make America Healthy Again campaign, which could potentially take Donald Trump out of the equation. I know he's polarizing for a lot of people, but man, if he slots RFK Jr. in there and gives him the power to actually run the FDA or to annihilate all these corporations that have been hurting people, which he's been doing his entire life,
Yeah.
dude, we have a chance to really set a new precedent. And, you're on the forefront of your neighborhood. And, I think things could be really, really good for you if whether or not Trump gets in, whether or not RFK is able to spearhead this thing. I think enough Americans are acknowledging that we are sick.
Yeah, people know that they don't feel good. And at the end of the day, like people are starting to realize it doesn't matter how much money you have or what kind of house you live in or how much of you what you have if you don't feel good.
Well, speaking of money, here's the crazy thing. So, my wife teaches people how to eat healthy, specifically with a gut healing thing for kids on the spectrum. And it's really, really tough because to eat the way that we recommend, we have a family of four. Our budget is $100 a day. Like we can't really get under that. So our grocery bill on minimum is about $3,000 a month. Most families cannot afford to do that, and it sucks. And I know even your food truck, just to just to stay open and you have a little bit of margins, some of those prices are way more than what they're spending at Walmart for their whatever they're getting.
For sure.
And so being an entrepreneur, I can't change the prices. I can help you maybe bulk cook or find cheaper ways, but I have to encourage people. All right, how do I empower you to make more money so that you can actually take care of your family? Because it is not set up for broke people to be healthy.
No. It's not set up for well, it's not altogether true because a can of beans is really cheap. Or not even a can, a bag of dry beans is really cheap, and there's a lot of your protein.
Yeah.
Roughage greens is not only cheap, um, but like we said earlier, easy to grow. Um, I think where people find the price tag being high on being healthy is whenever they start. And I don't know what your grocery list is, so I can't speak on yours. I know what mine used to be. A lot of processed foods, a lot of uh, meats and cheeses and eggs and snacks and all that. See, I don't buy any of that anymore. So all of that, where my grocery bill used to be 300 every time I went in, now it's like 70. Because I'm not buying like all this stuff that is going to wind up in a cupboard or a cabinet or in the refrigerator and get used a portion of and never finished and later has to be tossed out or winds up getting expired. Like the things that I'm buying, I'm going to eat. Uh, I'm going to
Yeah.
eat fresh, and I may have to go back to the grocery store another day of the week, to spend another 20 or $30. But I'd say I went from about 1,200 to $1,500 a month down to about 350,
Oh
400
wow. Wow.
on
So
my
that
groceries.
so that right there, if you figured that out, I think, being a businessman, like, and you can only sell so much to people in Shelbyville. Tell people where the food truck is. Five,
It's
what?
401 North Cannon Boulevard, Shelbyville, Tennessee.
All right.
So it's in the Best Way rental parking lot, and we'll be open. We're closed this week. We're open next week for Halloween, and that weekend closed the following weekend. I have personal stuff like my daughter's getting married, so I'm not going to work and try to juggle that. And then we'll
Yeah.
be back. We'll be back for the 2 weeks in a row before Thanksgiving, and then that weekend before Thanksgiving, that'll be our last weekend for the season this year at that location. Now we're looking because Tennessee's winter is like, you'll get a 70-degree day in December.
Yeah.
So we're looking to maybe do some pop-up things over our off season, keeping our eyes open for events that might make sense. But this year, like I said, was dedicated to the hometown. Next year, we're going to be open to, it's a mobile eatery. I want to
Yeah.
move around. I want to service more people that need to be exposed to this because we have our customers here in Shelbyville. We've taught them it's time for them to, take what they've learned, apply it to their life, and then, come see us
Yeah.
because, what we sell is convenience. Everybody can do what we do because we've given them all the recipes. It's all for free on the website, therealbigsmo.com. You can go through all of my blogs. Every recipe that we use on the trailer and some is on the website. Um, you can go to SMOliscious.com, the food trailer, and make sure that you keep up with the hours and location that we're going to be open. And of course, a lot of the recipes are on there. And Sarah Beth, my wife, has created like two different electronic magazines that are on the website. You can download the PDFs. It explains our entire journey. It has the before and the after pictures. She's lost over 100 pounds. My end weight, I've lost 225 pounds. And once I got down to like 170 um, and shed all the fat off of me, then I started putting on muscle. Now I'm back up to like 185, 190, and just like a lot of muscle weight, which is what I wanted
Yeah.
to do. I didn't want
Yeah.
to be a skinny guy, but I wanted to get all that fat off of me, and then I could just put on raw muscle and keep building it.
Yeah.
So, I've been successful with that. She's been successful with her goals. And we're just, with the food trailer, we want to be able to teach people like, look, here, this is simple. Soups, salads, smoothies, and specialty sweets. That's what we do. So we have soup of the day. We have 4 or 5 different salads, all customizable, homemade dressings. Everything is plant-based, gluten-free, and oil-free. The entire menu, top to bottom, left to right. There's nothing that's cross-contaminable. There's no compromising on our menu. It is all eat better, feel better food. And a lot of smoothies to choose from. So many smoothies that I got a 3-page secret menu that I have to keep under the counter. To when I see a customer, I can tell I'm a smoothie king now. I can tell when they're bored with the 5 menued smoothies. I'm like, hey, would you like to look at the secret menu? And they're like, secret menu? Tell me more. And
To
I'm
you
like,
It would be awesome if you could be almost like a Chinese doctor, if you could look in their eyes and read their tongue and then
I,
just tell what they needed.
hey, I can tell what people want based off of just a couple of questions, to the point to where I can sell a cop a Cheech and Chong smoothie.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and they love it. They're like, man,
So
state trooper.
so I would the point I was trying to get to too, and I think this is really important if you would like to continue to have an impact and grow that impact, would really be, teaching people this stuff, and that doesn't require them to be in the same city as you or be near the food trailer, because whether it's through the recipes or particularly what you said with the grocery bills, man, if you could teach people how to shop, most people don't know how, even if you give them the recipes,
Yeah,
it's a little difficult. And I think that there is a tremendous amount of opportunity just selling digital goods. And I know from your heart, you give away the recipes, but I have found and I know that when you give things to people for free, they tend to not value it and use it as much.
oh yeah,
And
I
so
see that a lot.
there may be a lot of room for you to sell these recipes or sell these things that could reach far and wide beyond Tennessee, which I know you already know, but I want to encourage it because
Yeah,
I think your story is so uh, uplifting, life saving, and will continue to save more lives. Just how many of those lives do you want it to
yeah.
be?
Well, I think based off of my experience with television and like media experience in general. I think another like show based, like, media based show, almost like cooking show, lifestyle show, um, idea would be really cool. I know at one point I had kicked around an idea of traveling around, and each state has, every state has their popular food that
Oh
they're
yeah.
famous for, and then going to that famous restaurant that does the famous food, and then learning
Yeah.
how, like, how do we do the healthy version of this?
Totally. My friend Ron Douglas actually sold millions of copies of like America's famous recipes. Yeah, and he'll show you how to make the Crackle Barrel mac and cheese or whatever.
Yep.
It's all unhealthy food.
Yeah, but like,
But
how do you take that same blueprint? It's like, all right, we're going to take all of America's favorite food. We're going to show you how to make it healthy.
yep, that's what my wife does,
You
and
know?
it's not vegan, but or plant based, but that's what she does. She tries shows you how to use the top notch organics, cleanest
Yeah,
stuff you can. And so, dude, I'm stoked you came on here. I'm stoked that you actually went through with the truck, man, and did it, and are going to continue to do it. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm not excited that I'm actually moved. Like I said, I just rented a place near Tillamook, where
yeah.
my wife's pregnant,
Oh,
and
congrats.
thanks, man. And so we have no family here at all, and so really not a big support network, and all of our families in Oregon. So we're about to bounce out. Like as soon as I was really enjoying being a Southern boy, um, we're out of here.
You going
But
back to Oregon?
yeah,
I mean, that's cool. At least you got to come and experience it.
it honestly it changed my life, man. It
Good.
changed my life in so many ways. Even when you got disconnected before, I was talking a little bit about, you know, the country rap thing, and how growing up in Portland, I always thought that stuff was corny, and I thought all redneck stuff was corny, and I just was ignorant of everything. And then I came here, and I realized, man, these people are no different than any of us out there, and all the prejudices I ever had for people in the South, I was doing the same thing to them that I was acute, very similar. It,
Yeah,
it, it made me grow up as a person,
good.
and not judge people so much, and love them for who they are, even if that may be different than who I am.
Hey, man, it sounds like Tennessee added some love to your heart and some value to your life, and I'll take that.
Yeah, man, and you had a decent part in that too, so I thank you for that.
I love being a part of people's journey.
Cool, brother. Well, we told people you can go to SMOliscious.com. I'm gonna put that up here one more time just so
Yeah.
people can see that. And do you have any plans to do music stuff, or is that kind of a thing of the past?
No, I've got one more album that I want to put out on my 50th birthday. So, I'm 48 right now, so I got a little time to focus on trying to focus on my family right now. My kids are at an age where I'm trying to make sure that they're all set up for success with what they're doing, and um, just trying to spend. I being in the music industry for 25 years, you have to sacrifice a lot of time with your family.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like if there's ever been a point in my life where I've earned the right, the opportunity, and the comfort, the stability to enjoy my family, it's now, while I'm healthy, while I feel good,
Yeah.
while I've got knowledge to give them, while I can help them in any way get to their next step, of growth. So music's just not really important to me right now. And like, honestly, I've got such a catalog that I know that anybody that's like, man, I wish you put out a new album, you haven't even heard all my music. Like, you might be listening to one or two songs, maybe a record or two, but you haven't heard like the 17 albums that I've put out,
Yeah.
or all of the features. So like, I love that people love my music. I would just encourage people to make sure that they've experienced everything, like I've got those 18 episodes of the the first YouTube show that we did, and then me and my wife did one called Smo on the Go. There's I think 12 or 14 episodes of that. You know that you don't even have to. That's like TV edits a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
We don't. So if you want to see like the real Smo, go watch like Smo on the Go. If you want
Smell on
like,
the go.
yeah, and that's on YouTube. Um, and then like just dig through my catalog. If you listen to music on Spotify, you want to make sure you're searching SMO, SMO, just capital SMO. Because if you look up Big SMO, which there's 2 pages on Spotify, I don't know why I can't get on to make it one, or put both music on both pages, but it's so confusing. Uh, you have to search for stuff under SMO on Spotify and
Yeah.
sometimes Apple and stuff like that. So I don't know. There's a huge disconnect from what people have heard and what people are hearing because of the name change. I didn't take that into consideration. I just knew how much it meant for me to be able to shed the big.
Is it possible or impossible? I mean, if let's say you did go do a show, and a lot of people are going to want to hear some of the old hits, but some of the lyrics in the old hits might not be in congruency with who you are today. Do you
Yeah.
just not do those songs anymore,
No,
or
I still, last show I did was back in April, and I still sing the kicking it in Tennessee, and rolling on that back road, blowing pine, sipping on that moonshine, because that's a song about a life that I once lived.
yeah,
I don't deny who I was, and I can still celebrate who I was because without being who I was, I would never be who I am.
yeah, I like that. That's good.
The struggle is what made me who I am. Like I failed my way to success. People need to know that I wasn't just born and raised and then was like, here's this great opportunity. Like I was a complete failure my entire life until I failed my way into succeeding into something. So I went to school to do a lot of things and none of them was a rapper. So like I was terrible in high school. I was worse in whatever kind of made up college I went to after that. And, I was really good at concrete and I was really good at cutting hair and I was really good at cooking. But,
Yeah,
doing music was something that, it was like from my heart. And
I
now
don't think. Go ahead.
nowadays I think the song is a different song. It's still sung the same way. It still carries the same values, but I'm looking instead of like bringing the party, I'm trying to bring the happiness and the joy. You know what I'm
I
saying?
like it.
Positivity.
Yeah, I was thinking like when I got on the internet around 2004, I landed into the world of copywriting, which is essentially, just writing the words on a website that sells stuff, how to get the money.
Yep.
And I instantly found myself around the giants, the OGs of copywriting. And I was partly just kind of ignorant of the fact that I should be like impressed with them or intimidated. To me, I was like, "Oh, these are just little crusty dudes." I'm like, I grew up rapping. I grew up being a white rapper in a black dominated sport where everyone looks at you. This was pre Eminem, where everyone looks at you like, "Who is this cornball Peckerwood?" And it's like you
Yep.
had to overcome so many things as a white rapper that when I became a writer, I'm like, bro, this is so easy. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is like shooting fish in a barrel. I get to sit here and think for 5 minutes about what I want to say. I'm not on the clock freestyling.
Yeah. No,
I
it's
was like,
way different doing something else. Like I enjoy cooking a lot better than I do, the
so
music industry.
so I feel like it, I feel like somebody who is really prolific with words and rapping, and if you can do that, man, you can do a lot of things.
Yeah, and I'm excited about what's next, whatever it may be. Like the universe has not let me down yet with whatever it throws my way. So I've got some lines in the water and I'm just waiting on a bite. There's talks of another a different style show, and then of course more music, and then Smolicious continuing on, and like I just see a lot of opportunity, and like you said, I think that the temperature of our nation, people are starting to realize, we're not fools.
Yeah.
We may be addicts, but we're not stupid. Like when you smoke
Yeah.
crack, you're not doing your body a good thing, right? So
Yeah.
same thing when you drink Dunkin' every day, 900 calorie drink is not great for your cellular structure. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. I'm here to support whatever you're doing, man. I dig it. I appreciate it, and count me in if you ever whatever you need.
yeah, well, I look forward to hearing from you when you going back out to Oregon.
The family's going in like 2 weeks. I just signed a lease on the house, and then I got to sell this house, so I'm going to stay behind, sell my place here, and
Okay.
then I'm hoping maybe I get there before Christmas. But
Well, man, let's hang out
yeah.
before you go. Once you get the family off and you got a little time, holler at me.
All right, sounds good, buddy.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Take care.
All right, man. Holler at you.